All right, second floor. We have some other things to do. I'm going to put in the countertops and the toilets and the sinks. So we go over to architecture, drop down at the component. We're going to model in place. I think this is a good idea to always save. I'm going to do casework and just say okay to that. Whatever the number is they put after casework is fine, in my opinion. And so we're going to do an extrusion. And let's take a look at the constraints. The the reference level is the second floor. So every elevation will be relative to the second floor level. So we want the countertop to be 3 feet above. We want it to be 2 feet below. I'm sorry, 2 inches below. So we're going to say it's 3 feet is the end point or end level, and 2 feet 10 is the start level. So it's a 2 inch countertop. And we'll still use the porcelain and change that later. I use the porcelain just for demonstration purposes. And we'll say okay to that and okay to that. So now I have my first countertop in, and I'll just come over and do the same thing again. Architecture, drop down at component, model in place, casework, okay. Whatever, they take the casework and put another number after that, and that's fine. Uh, for me, extrusion, let's look at the constraints. Everything looks good. I'll draw another rectangle over here. So I've laid out my countertops already with just reference lines or detail lines. Okay, that's the tub. That's going to be the toilet. That's the countertop. So we'll say okay to that. Architecture, component, model in place, casework, okay, okay. And then we'll just do an extrusion. The constraints default back to what I had previously, which is fine with me. I'm drawing a rectangle. So I show 2 points, the top left and the bottom right. Say okay, say okay. I've got my third countertop in there. And I have two more bathrooms here, which have the same thing, architecture, component, model in place, casework, okay, okay. Extrusion, I know that it defaults to my previous settings, so I'm okay with that. Draw another rectangle right here, say okay with the green check mark. And I've got one more to do, architecture, component, model in place, casework, okay, okay. And then we'll draw another extrusion with a rectangle right here. And we'll say okay to that. All right. So I think I have all my countertops in. This is the dressing area for the master bedroom. This is the bathroom for the master bedroom. This is the bathroom for this bedroom. This is the bathroom for this. And this is the bathroom for this one. So we're in good shape. I already have a toilet in my model, so I'm just going to uh, select that toilet. Interesting. That oh, I haven't finished accepting my last extrusion. So I'll just click on the toilet and say create similar. And then I'll come up here and let's put that toilet in. I'm hitting the space bar to rotate it around. Okay. I'm going to put another one over here. Okay. And over here. And one more. I think I have a private room for this toilet because it's the master. All right. So what's left? Um, Bathtubs. Don't have any bathtubs on the first floor, so I can't do create similar. Let's see, architecture component. Let's see if I have a bathtub. I might not even have a tub here. Um, I don't see one. Let's go in the search and type tub and see what happens. No matches. Okay, then we say insert, load a family. We'll go over to the Imperial Library. I'm looking for plumbing. I see it right here. We'll use the architectural plumbing and we're looking for fixtures. And sinks, water closets, bathtubs. Okay. And rectangular 3D bathtub looks good there. You can see that it's wall based. That's what we're seeing here. So that means I have to have a wall in order to place that bathtub. Um, Architecture component. There's my bathtub. I'm going to do this guy right here and base him in this wall right there. Okay. Have to come back and clean that up a little bit, but for now I'll put the tub in there. And this guy has a tub as well. All right. So I noticed over here that something didn't look right. And what it is the door. So I'll use I click on the door and I'll just use the arrow key to move it down. And the same thing here, I'll use the arrow key to actually move it up. And so now I've got my, this is the shower for the master bath. We'll do that as a separate tutorial because that's a custom shower. And now this is the shower. This is the bathtub. The faucet, I can see that the plumbing is going to be on this wall, and we need an access panel. In case anything happens, we need to access that. So I really should put the plumbing on this wall because we wouldn't be able to access it in the shower, from the shower, without actually breaking the tile. So let's see if I can flip that by hitting this little arrow. Now my plumbing is in the right spot. You can see that. Okay. Now here, that's probably a good place for the access panel. Plumber won't like it because he will have to, or she will have to get behind work around the toilet, but at least that's a better place to have that access panel. It's just a removable panel on the wall that allows us to access the plumbing components, because over time there's things that'll need to be changed, that'll wear out, washers or some part of the faucet might need to have some kind of replacement or repair. So I could put the access panel on this wall, but then you would see it in what I consider to be the finished space. It's a better spot over there. That's just the concept there. So what's left? Sinks. So we'll grab this sink right here. Let's see if we can do that. Yep. And we're going to say create similar, and I'll come over here now. And let's put that sink in. I'm going to have to move it, and we'll put it in over here. I'll have to move it, and let's put it in over here. I'm going to hit the space bar to rotate it around. Okay. And then the last one is right here. I'll hit the space bar till the faucet's at the back. Okay. Now we have to come over, and all of those are too low. So that means now that I'll have to come over with my section and see what happened. So we'll go to the view. There's my sink, and of course it is too low. Now, some people put the vanities in the bathrooms at 32 inches instead of 36 inches. I happen to find it more comfortable to be at 36 inches, so that's what I'm doing there. So now because I didn't pay attention to the elevation of the sink, now I have to go back to each one of these sections and take a look at the sink. Let's go back here and see why I can't see the sink. Well, it might be because it's a little farther back, so let's go to that section now. There it is. So I just cut the section through looking in the wrong direction to actually be able to see the sink. So I just moved the section line back a little bit. Now I can see it. Back to the second floor. Let's go over here and go to that view. Should be able to see the sink. Yep, sure enough. All of my sinks were placed too low. All right, one more to go. And that's now sometimes we put a sink in the dressing area, sometimes we don't. It's really up to the client what they want to do. In this case, I have enough sinks, I think. So we'll go to this view, see if we can see the sink. Yes, we can. It's right there. So we'll use the align tool. Now we have all of our sinks where we want them to be elevation wise. We can see the sink. Oh, look at that one. I need to rotate it. So let's click on it and see if I hit the space bar, what happens. It's only flipping it in the wrong direction. So I'll say, let's rotate that guy 90 degrees. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is place the sink centered in the space here. So I will do that by using the dimensions, and then we're looking for the equal sign. There it is. Okay, I click it again and then delete this. I don't get my unconstrained issue. Same thing here. Let's put a dimension in there and to the center line, and then back over to here. and we'll say equal. Okay. If I hit that equal again, and then I can delete that without worrying about the unconstrained command that I have to work with. This guy should come back a little bit. I've selected the sink and now I'm just using the arrows on the keyboard to move it a little bit. All right, so let's come back and put our dimension in here. We go from here to the center line of the sink to the face of the gypsum board. Put that in there, hit the equal. If I hit the equal again, I can delete that without the unconstrained warning coming up. All right, and the last one is right here. We'll say equal, equal again. You can see that it's 3 and 3. Delete that. All right, so I'm going to save it. Take a look at it real quick. And so you generally, when I'm looking at my project, I just click the save bar and let it save while I'm looking at it to see what needs to be done. Everything looks good here. Yeah, the sinks look fine as far as they're located. So let's see. We'll click on the extrusion. We'll edit it in place. We're going to create a void form, void extrusion. We're going to pick lines and I think we can put in a rectangle. So let's say we're going to draw a rectangle to represent it. I think we can do that. Let's see. Not quite. Let's zoom in here. Let's put this guy right here. And I need to move this line. Oh, whoops. I need to move this line over a little bit. So I'm going to use click on it and use the arrow key just to get it over. So what I've done is I've told Revit to cut a hole in the countertop, which is inside of the outside perimeter of the sink, but outside of the sink itself. So it's going to cut a hole in the countertop. Let's say okay to that. And then it's going to cut a hole. We could make this a little bit taller. We could make this a little bit lower, but it will still cut it at these constraints. So let's say cut and see what happens. Yep, it worked. Okay, got that cut in there. And so now let's go over here and do the same thing. Click on the extrusion, edit in place, create a void form, and we'll try that rectangle again and see if we can do it. That looks good. That's going to be outside, and that's going to be outside. We'll say okay. We're going to cut it, and we'll say okay. That looks good. All right, so we got two now. We have two more sinks to put in. You can see how easy it is to do this once you are used to it. It's very simple. That's my extrusion. I'm going to edit it in place. I'm going to create a void form, a void extrusion using the rectangle tool. And let's see, right there should be outside. It is outside of the sink itself, but inside of the actual sink extreme. That looks good. We'll say okay. We'll cut it, and we have one more to go. So we'll do that real quick. We'll say okay to that. We're going to say architecture, component, model in place. Whoops, what am I doing here? We click this object. We're going to edit that in place. We're going to create a void form, void extrusion. We're going to do a rectangle. No, we're not. This time I'm going to show how to do the offset. So I'll offset it by a ½ inch. And now I can pick objects and just make sure that they are offset by a ½ inch. So they'll be larger than the sink opening, but smaller than the actual sink itself. So the sinks won't, if I made the opening the same size as the sink, then the sink would fall through the opening. So we make it a little bit smaller. So I'm just showing you a different way to create this. I'm cleaning up the magenta lines because they have to create a enclosed entity, and I can't have any of those lines. So there it is. Same thing. Constraints are good. Say okay. Say okay. And now we've put in the bathroom fixtures and countertops. It's questionable whether we would put one in here or not. Might not be bad because mom and dad might want to use the sinks at the same time. And if there's only one sink, they might want another one over here. But for purposes of this demonstration, we'll say that's okay.